reported on just a few days ago, who unlawfully was told to attack an unarmed individual? Well, we have an update. Let me remind you of the video. Here it is.
Come to me! You don't want bit! On the ground, you're gonna get bit. Come to me, man!
Do not let them, don't release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Don't. Do not. Get the dog off of it. Get the dog off of it.
Get the dog! Get out the dog now! Get the dog! Get the dog!
Get the dog off.
Get it out!
Put up the picture. An investigation has now been launched into why a Circleville, Ohio police K-9 was deployed to attack a semi-truck driver, 23-year-old Jadarius Rose, who was complying with orders. He was on his knees with his hands in the air. You do not have a more defenseless pose than that. A police trooper can be heard in the video repeatedly yelling, "Do not release the dog with his hands up." The dog, however, was let loose and attacked Mr. Rose, grabbing his arm as he screamed, "Get it off!" Officers rushed to pull the dog off of Mr. Rose. I want to say this about the troopers. There are two jurisdictions involved. The troopers are the ones saying, "Don't release the dog with his hands up." Okay? These other guys are coming because initially there was a call for backup, but they canceled that call. They no longer needed any backup whatsoever. The man was out of the truck. The man was complying. The man was being lawful. No need. They pull up any damn way. Not only do they pull up, they get out of their vehicles. They bring the K-9. And the officer who had command, meaning the man yelling, "Don't release the dog with his hands up," the man who had command was directly disobeyed by the other cop. Put it up, full mass. The Circleville PD said the city's use of force review board is now conducting an investigation. The highway police had initially identified the K-9 officer as Circleville officer R. Speakman. Circleville officers or officials would not say if Speakman has or will be placed on leave during the investigation. Body cam of Rose's arrest was not released to the public until Friday, July 21st. But the footage had been obtained by local outlet, the Valley Guardian, prior, and showed the K-9 initially being held back by Speakman. All right, let's put up the screenshot. Troopers were still yelling, "Get on the ground or you're going to get bit." All right. This July 4th encounter unfolded after Rose allegedly led officers from several law enforcement agencies on a highway chase. It remained unclear Sunday why Rose did not immediately pull over when troopers initially ordered him to. Let me give you background on the incident report. The incident began at about 9:30 a.m. according to the report on July 4th as troopers from the State Highway Police Department's Motor Carrier Enforcement Inspector Unit attempted to pull Rose over on westbound US Route 35 for what they described as an alleged traffic defect violation. Rose's vehicle was missing a mud flap. That's what that was, according to an initial incident report released by the State Highway Police. Rose allegedly refused to pull over and led troopers on a chase through 2 counties. I activated my marked patrol vehicle light, bar, and siren, but the suspect failed to stop. I drove in the left lane and along the left side of the vehicle in an attempt to get the driver's attention. The driver would not make eye contact and did not acknowledge me, the trooper wrote in the report. As the chase shifted onto U.S. Route 23, the big rig forced a trooper to swerve off the right side of the road to avoid contact, according to the report. Troopers placed stop sticks or spike strips on the roadway ahead of the chase and blew out the tires, forcing him to pull over on Route 23 in Pickaway County and surrender. Let me give you the arrest details. Rose was taken into custody and troopers immediately performed first aid on him. They waited for paramedics to arrive, according to the statement. Rose was treated at a hospital and released into custody of the State Highway Police. He was booked at the Ross County Jail on charges of failure to comply, a 4th-degree felony, according to online records. Rose has been released from the county jail. It is unclear if he has hired an attorney. Now, it really doesn't matter what the allegation is against Mr. Rose. It doesn't matter. At the time of the deployed K9, Mr. Rose was compliant, okay? Now, let's go to what he was actually charged with. He was charged with not complying to the traffic stop.
What?
He wasn't charged with having drugs inside of his vehicle. He wasn't charged because he had a felony warrant out of his arrest or he had a gun and he was threatening to kill somebody. Once again, it doesn't matter at the time of the attack, but to give you just insight into the full scenario, we don't know why Mr. Rose did not pull over. We do know he's innocent until proven guilty, and we also know that he did not deserve to be attacked by a K9 after it was clear to every officer involved. You do not deploy a K9 with hands up. And here's another dynamic. The person handling the K9, guess what they must receive before being able to handle a police K9? Training. They have to receive specialized K9 training, which means as the officer in command is yelling, don't deploy, the dog with his hands up, the man who had control of the K9 was more than aware of what the rules were. All right, sharing thoughts.
It's appalling. And I do want to talk about him fleeing police because, number one, I used to have this big boxy truck, Dr. Richie, and I would bump Tupac and Biggie. I could hear no one else but the greatest to ever do it. And I couldn't see anybody else. I was lost in the music. So I don't know if he saw him or not. But if he did, why wouldn't he flee? He had troopers in Ohio and an innocent dog after him. And you see what happened. I'm surprised they didn't use more force. Where were the hoses? Can we use creative license and get that footage in black and white? Because it looks definitely like a throwback. Do your job. The statute doesn't say unleash the dogs, maul this man, arrest him, and move on.
You make a really, really interesting point because I've been in similar situations where I'm driving a large vehicle, I'm listening to music, and I don't notice some things happening around my car. It could be just that simple. He was listening to music. He did not know that anyone was chasing him. And then, because it never went to a high-speed chase, it never moved into a place of being a high-speed chase. Now, what if he does recognize it at a point and realizes, well, damn, he got 20 cops following him. He has no idea why. And all of a sudden he's in panic mode. See, these are perfectly understandable dynamics that could have happened. We do know that he had no reason to run from law enforcement based on their own report. There was nothing illegal in that car. There was nothing illegal about him. It was simply him not pulling over in time. All right, we will follow this story and update it as it develops.
everyone. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. I'm doing an update of the Ohio State Trooper situation when it comes to Jadarius Rose, the 23-year-old truck driver who was mauled by a canine dog in an Ohio State highway. Now, you heard what Dr. Rashad Ritchie just said. The only reason why he was arrested because he wasn't, complying with the state troopers. That's why I stopped, and I'm saying he didn't have no drugs in the car. He wasn't really speeding like that. But because he wasn't complying with the state troopers, that's why he was charged. Now, Dr. Rashad Ritchie didn't say the guy who says, don't release the dog, don't release the dog while he was his hands up. That guy was the state trooper's supervisor that said this. But let's be real. And this reminds me, and this is going to be a different subject here. This reminds me of the incident that I had years ago. I had a mentor and my teacher. We were basically helping one of his, colleagues, one of his friends, because he was moving from Virginia to Denver, Colorado at that time, and I was 17. So when we went through Kansas, we got stopped by 5 Kansas State troopers that day, and we was in Kansas. And not to mention, they had a K9 at the time. We was petrified. We complied. And we followed, and this is sort of similar, but this is basically, difference is we didn't basically get K9s or being arrested or blah, blah, blah. We would stop because we were black. And we was driving a truck at the time. And basically, that truck was like a U-Haul truck. It was like a tractor trailer in a way. We didn't even know it was a state trooper behind us until the sirens were on. But that was humiliating and embarrassment at the time. But they didn't find no drugs in the truck or nothing, so they let us go. But let's get back to this, because this is why we're talking about this. Jadarius Rose, 23 years old, who driving a truck. Now, they claiming that he was fleeing. He was, basically trying to get away with the state troopers. But let's be real. Like, he didn't have a gun. He was unarmed. He didn't have no drugs in the car. He didn't have no drugs inside the back, inside the truck. He had his hands up. The supervisor of the Ohio State Highway Patrol told, and I didn't even know, because they called for backup of another police district, or, I didn't know that part. But the officer who had that K9 ignored that supervisor's command of not release that dog while he had his hands up. He ignored it. So here's the thing I'm thinking of, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why I said that there's no surprise. And I think the FBI released I'm trying to remember the year they released these. I think it's a 2006 article when it said white supremacists infiltrated police departments across the country. I wouldn't even be surprised if that the guy who had the canine was one of those white supremacists they was talking about. Now, Dr. Rashad Richey said, well, he had to train to become a canine on. It doesn't matter if he's trained or not. He's dangerous. And by ignoring the supervisor's command of not releasing that dog, and they already got the suspect in custody with his hands up, that's a violation right there. Now the FBI, we've been hearing, is launching an investigation of this incident. And other law enforcement is also launching an investigation. But let's be real. This officer gonna make an excuse as well. He was a threat. We had to protect ourselves. No, he wasn't no threat. He complied with the state troopers, and that's mainly the reason why the supervisor told the officers in different district or different jurisdictions, no, we don't need no canine unit now. We're good. But then they still released the dog. I mean, Jadarius Rose, I mean, if it was, like I told you in my previous video, if it wasn't for the supervisor that says do not do this, if it wasn't for other state troopers that under his command that try to break up and try to hold the dog back, we wouldn't know what would happen to Jadarius Rose. I'm going to be honest with you. We wouldn't even know what happened to him. It shows you, with that power of being a supervisor of Ohio State troopers, and then this is a different jurisdiction that called for backup, they canceled the backup. They canceled the K9 unit because he put his hands up. He surrendered peacefully. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is mainly the reason why that, I mean, Jadarius Rose needed having a lawyer, attorney present, represent him, if not already. I will file a lawsuit against the Ohio State, Highway Patrol for the treatment that he's been through. Now, I agree with what Dr. Rashad Richey said. We don't even know why he didn't stop by the Highway State troopers before. But in that moment, he did comply. Now, I don't want to hear people say, well, did he comply? Yes, he did. He had his hands up. He's surrendering. And they still override the supervisor's command of not releasing that dog. Jadarius Rose could have been unalive today if it wasn't for the supervisor and the people that's under his command. This is shameful. This is really, really shameful. And again, we don't know if Jadarius Rose had a lawyer or not. More than likely, he probably will now because of this. But at the end of the day, they need to be held accountable for what they did to this young man. He's only 23 years old, driving a truck driver. And then this is my other concern too about black men driving trucks. You're gonna go to highways that literally, and I'm just being real because it happened my mentor and I. You're gonna go to states that gonna stop you because you're black. They know you're not doing anything wrong. You didn't break no laws or you're not speeding anything. They're gonna do that because you're black. Basically, I experienced that myself with coming to state troopers in the state of Kansas, by the way, along with a K9 unit. So yes, if you're a black truck driver, you watching my videos, I'm gonna give you a heads up. You're gonna go to a state that is gonna see that you're a black truck driver, and they're gonna stop you just because. We all know they're not gonna do it to no white truck driver. It is what it is. But I guarantee you, if you're a black truck driver making a living, they're gonna stop you. They're gonna say, "Well, we're stopping you because we want to see if you got drugs in the truck." Blah 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 blah, and we will get canine unit to smell, see if you got drugs in the truck. That's their procedure in some states. Believe me, my mentor, which was my teacher, and myself experienced that firsthand. So we already know. But to this story, and again, like, if a supervisor, it doesn't matter if you're from another police jurisdiction or what, if a supervisor give you a command not to release that dog, you have to obey it. But this officer doesn't care. And like I said before, I remember that model in 2006 when the FBI releases a bulletin that white supremacist groups infiltrated police departments across the country. Guarantee you that the officer who owns that dog, that was one that released that dog, is one of them. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll talk to you in my next video. And basically on Friday, I'm going to do a live stream for the first time in a while. Just talk to fans, just talk to you guys, and catch up on some things. So be prepared for that. Hopefully it's going to be Friday, probably 4 p.m. my time, which is going to be Mountain Time, 3 p.m. on Pacific, 5 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. in the East Coast. So I want you guys to tune in. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff on my live stream. I'm going to talk about my plans next month, and then probably more plans in October. So I'll give you an update on it, and I'll let you know when I'll be on the air, so you guys can join me. We can talk, we conversate. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to you in my next video. This is Langston signing off. Deuces.